$1 billion and the most grandiose failure in history. You won't believe the shameful lie Amazon is using to cover up the catastrophic ratings of The Rings of Power to avoid admitting that their Game of Thrones is an uncontrollable sinking ship devouring all its successful competitors. Insiders are whispering about monstrous corruption and betrayal that have claimed your favorite series as victims. The truth that was kept from you. Hello everyone, get ready. Today we're diving into the dirtiest, most scandalous, and believe me, the most expensive failure story in the world of streaming. Forget about dragons and elves. The real drama is unfolding at Amazon headquarters, where corporate arrogance and mountains of burned money have led to a catastrophe of planetary scale. We are talking about the series The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, a project that was supposed to become the new grail of television, but turned into the most shameful, the most colossal, and the most expensive flop in history. Amazon spent a staggering $1 billion on this monstrosity, an amount that could buy the GDP of a small country. They dreamed of their own Game of Thrones, a flagship that would draw in all the subscribers in the world, but what did they get in return? A sinking, unwieldy, utterly fake Flying Dutchman that viewers are fleeing from like rats. Ratings have plummeted into the abyss, and critics are looking away in shame. And here is where the most interesting, breathtaking part begins. Against the backdrop of this deafening failure, when all metrics scream failure, the studio, instead of putting down this lame horse, stubbornly continues to shoot season after season. Why? This question is driving viewers and analysts crazy, and this is where that spicy detail that was recently leaked to us comes into play. A ridiculous penalty of $20 million for cancelling each of the 5 planned seasons. Oh, how this news spread through all the world media, as if to say, poor Amazon, they are shackled to this failure by a 40 million chain. Since the 3rd season is already in production, the cancellation would only cost 40 million for the 4th and 5th seasons. But wait a minute, we are talking about a corporate giant, the very company whose head, Jeff Bezos, possesses a fortune that could buy several European countries. Did you really believe that $40 million is an insurmountable sum for Amazon, which is burning hundreds of millions a year on a project that is clearly dead? Here is the first chilling truth. This story about the penalty is nothing more than a brilliant leak, a perfect smokescreen released to the press to somehow explain this financial suicide to shareholders and the general public. It's a desperate attempt to save face, to present management blindness, or more likely colossal internal corruption, as a forced measure due to legal technicalities. They prefer to be known as victims of a contract rather than admit, we invested $1 billion in a failure and someone profited immensely from it. While Amazon's PR department tries to pass off these paltry penalties as the reason for their indecision, the real numbers paint a picture worthy of a scream of horror. Remember these figures, they are a genuine indictment. According to reports, only 37% of American viewers and 45% of international viewers finished the 1st season of The Rings of Power. For a giant like Amazon, where a 50% benchmark is already considered unimpressive, this is a catastrophe. More than half the audience simply abandoned the show. They couldn't take it. They hit stop and left, but the most terrible thing happened next. If you thought it couldn't get any worse, you were deeply mistaken. The 2nd season, yes, they dared to film it, not only hit rock bottom, but plunged into another galaxy of shame. The figures were 60% lower than its predecessor. The number of minutes viewed collapsed from almost 8 billion to a measly 3 billion. This is not a decline, friends. This is a total deafening collapse. This is a viewer vote not just with their feet, but with their remotes, their wallets, and most importantly, with complete absolute indifference. And against this background, the statements of the then head of Amazon Studios, Jennifer Salke, who cheerfully reported 150 million engaged viewers, sounded particularly comical and cynical. What kind of engagement is this? Did they watch the trailer? Did they leave an angry comment? Did they write that it was the worst thing they had ever seen? Speaking of Jennifer Salke, the era of her leadership, in the unanimous opinion of insiders, was a time of insane spending, budgets detached from reality, and irresponsible financial strategy. Just imagine, during her reign, the head of Prime Video managed to flush about $1 billion down the drain, half of which went into the black hole of The Rings of Power, and although she has now left her post, many are still wondering how Jeff Bezos tolerated her for so long. They say her departure was not just a departure, but a real purge. But here's what's truly interesting. Did the former Amazon Prime boss receive her own, very generous golden parachute for so expertly managing this project? After all, when dealing with such gigantic sums, you must always look for someone who got their hands dirty. This mystery is still buzzing in the Hollywood corridors, but the most tragic thing in this saga is not the billions senselessly spent. The tragedy is that this financial albatross, this uncontrollable monster on Amazon's neck, is choking other real, successful and viewer-loved projects. Insiders and the streamers' producers are now uniformly complaining that all the money is being eaten by the rings of power. You're sitting there wondering if you have enough money to finish your series, anonymously shares one producer. While Middle-earth is swimming in money, there aren't enough funds for truly popular series like Fallout or Reacher. Do you hear that? Your favorite successful, profitable series that bring Amazon subscribers and fame are on a starvation diet. They are literally being sacrificed to this monster. And here we come to the most scandalous point, the one that haunts fantasy fans. There is every reason to believe that the first, most bloody and public victim of this financial black hole was another Amazon fantasy series, The Wheel of Time. It recently became known that it was being cancelled after the third season. The official reason? Economic reasons and insufficient viewership. But if you look at the facts, yes, The Wheel of Time was not a smash hit, and its first season, to be honest, was quite mediocre. But its budget is just a drop in the ocean compared to the unbearable weight of The Lord of the Rings. It certainly was not worse in viewer reviews than The Rings of Power, and its producers were ready to work within much stricter financial frameworks. Many fans and analysts are certain The Wheel of Time was sacrificed for The Rings of Power. It was cancelled to free up any money to feed the insatiable, voracious monster created by the ambitions of Jennifer Salk and her team. Amazon, consciously or not, is literally killing promising projects that could become future hits just to prolong the agony of its loudest, most shameful and most expensive failure. This resembles a staged crime in the corporate jungle. And what's next? Next, we await the third season. Or more precisely, we face a long, agonizing wait until the remnants of the audience completely forget about its existence. Actor Robert Aramayo, who plays Elrond, recently let slip filming will last until the end of 2025. Do you understand what this means? Considering the massive post-production, we will see new episodes in the best-case scenario in 2026 and not a moment sooner. 2 years, that is an eternity for a streaming service. This amount of time is more than enough for even the most devoted fans, if any are left, to completely lose interest. And here is another secret that reveals the studio's desperation. The production of the series was moved from the picturesque fairy tale New Zealand, which was the soul of Tolkien's world. It was relocated to studios in the UK. This was done in a desperate attempt to somehow cut the exorbitant costs. But can you imagine Middle-earth filmed in stuffy British studios? This is not just saving money, it's the murder of the atmosphere. It's further proof that money, not the soul of the project, is now paramount. They promise us a time jump, the beginning of a full-scale war with Sauron. But who is still interested? We are confident that if Amazon conducted an honest survey, they would see people are tired, people are disappointed, people feel that they have simply been deceived, having been offered an expensive but empty and soulless fake. And here we come to the climax of this dark story. The story of the Rings of Power is not a saga about the struggle of good versus evil. It is an instructive, cynical parable about corporate arrogance, about executives detached from reality, and about how even $1 billion cannot buy the love and attention of viewers if the project lacks the main thing, soul and respect for the source material. And also, and this is the most important thing, it is a story that someone very well profited and is likely still profiting from all this. Who received kickbacks from the colossal contracts? Who greenlit the senseless spending? Who lobbied for these astronomical budgets that did not correspond to the quality of the script or the final result? We won't point fingers, but when dealing with such gigantic sums, corruption is not a possibility, it's standard operating procedure. And while Amazon continues to hide behind the ridiculous 20 million penalty per season like a fig leaf, someone somewhere is living very well on the money that that should have gone to your favorite series. And while this shameful circus continues, Amazon's successful, audience-loved series literally risk being cut, becoming financial donors for their failed brother. All of this is to postpone the inevitable admission that has long been obvious to the whole world. Their most expensive show in history turned out to be the most grandiose and most shameful failure. Amazon is desperately trying to save face, hoping that in a couple of years everything will be forgotten and they can reboot with a new season. But the world of streaming is cruel. Viewer trust is the most fragile currency, and when a company so cynically and so openly throws $1 billion into the furnace, sacrificing the success of others, it is not forgotten. So there you have it. This was not just a story about a series, it was a tale of a secret war, of money, of power, and of betrayal. And the scariest thing is that this war seems to have no end in sight. Stay with us to find out which other successful projects will fall victim to Amazon's corporate arrogance.